Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Ladies Power Lunch Show. I am so excited today. So, I met this woman, Yvonne, and she has something wonderful to share with us how to make cash with online events. We're all online nowadays, and the online community is more crowded than it has ever been because everybody's doing business online. How can we stand out? How can we differentiate ourselves? And how can we do it in a way that's aligned? I'm looking forward to this conversation with great anticipation because it is my thought that we should always be, you know, we should have some remuneration for the work that we're putting out there. And so many of us are doing so many things that are for 100% free. It's really nice to understand how we can actually get paid for what we do. So we have a wonderful guest joining us today, but we've also been joined by some beautiful, beautiful women today here in our Zoom studio. And so I'd love to give them an opportunity to also introduce themselves to us. We have Marianne, Annette, and Joanne joining us. Marianne, would you like to start off by just very briefly introducing yourself, say who you are and what it is that you're doing in the world?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Marianne Guinea, and I help busy women save more money, stay healthier, and get healthier, all on an affordable budget. And I am so glad to be here. This is my first time joining this group.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We're very, very happy to have you, and all the things that you're doing sound amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Welcome, Annette. I'm so happy to see you. Can you share with us who you are and what it is that you do?
Excuse me, I'm Annette Stanwyck from Calgary, Alberta. I'm a speaker, author, freedom facilitator, and coach, and I help people let go of painful past experiences, fears, self-limiting beliefs and behaviors, and I help people forgive. That's my passion, to help people forgive and let go
You
of the
know,
past.
I love, I just got goosebumps while you were saying all of that. I
Oh,
love what you're doing. I was just reading a comment a comment about a woman who she's the oldest living individual in the world, and her secret to living a long life is, I guess, identifying the things that you have control over and the things that you have no control over, just forgetting about them, and I think
yes.
part of the whole forgiveness really does require for us to just let it go. So I love that, love that, love that. Joanne, welcome. So good to see you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to see you too. So, yes, Joanne Rea, and I'm a raw food chef and coach, and I show people how they can incorporate simple and delicious um, meals, snacks, whatever it is you're looking for.
One of the things I love about what you do, Joanne, is that you help us to appreciate that healthy can also be delicious. And sometimes we think that if it's healthy, we're going to have to give up on flavor. And when we talk to you and we learn about the way you do things, it really helps us to understand that it doesn't have to be that way. So, welcome, ladies. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us. So, the main event. Drumroll, please, as we welcome Yvonne.
Hello.
So I'm excited to have Yvonne on. It is not very often that I just meet somebody and I say to them, very first thing, oh, I need to have you on my show. I am so very careful and selective about who I bring to speak to our wonderful audience. And when Yvonne started explaining what it is that she does, it seemed like an awesome fit for our group. So, Yvonne, I have come to know you. I absolutely adore what you're doing in the world, but will you share with our audience what it is that you do?
Yeah, it will be my pleasure, Dr. D. So my name is Yvonne, and I, like Annette, live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which is north of Montana, for those of you that may be geographically challenged. Um, and I say that tongue in cheek. And I'm the CEO of eventmanagement.guru, which is an event company where I support coaches heart-centered coaches, very important to me, who host multiple day events to bring out their work into the world by selling their year-long or 6 months coaching program or their mastermind. And so I not just support them with the logistical pieces of that event, but also support them during the sales process of it all.
Well, this is an interesting area for us to talk about because so many of the members of our communities, they are coaches, they are leaders, they are gurus, they are offering these events, and the marketing part and the support might not be something that they have a great deal of access to, or they might be marketing it in sort of a lackluster way. So, what advice would you have for any of our members who might be thinking about putting on an event to market their high level program? How would you suggest that they start thinking about that?
Well, for starters, what I've learned over time is that the importance of having a list,
Mhm.
and not just any kind of list. It has to be a list of true prospects, of people that you've nurtured them, you've connected with them over time, because that is one of the ways that you can have them show up actually for your multiple day event where you can make your offer. And lists are oftentimes underestimated. And in the same breath, I'm also convinced that you don't need, like 10,000 people on your list in order to be able to sell to your audience. And so, but it's more than having a list. It's, when you're thinking of your event, there are different things that you need to focus on, but it's not just you, it's your team, right? So oftentimes people have a virtual assistant. They might have somebody who creates their landing page. And I would highly recommend, for instance, somebody who, when they create a landing page, that they have a marketing a background. So I've worked with a lady in the U.S. She's in, believe in Massachusetts area, and she, she creates great landing pages and dashboards and things like that, and really comes from that marketing angle of speaking to the pain of the audience. Because it's not about how you can solve all their problems. It's they have to recognize first that they have a problem. And so you have to kind of speak their language. So it's really important that when you put your marketing out there, that it's something that they can identify themselves with, that when they read it, they kind of go like, oh my gosh, does she live in my head? Does she live in my house? Does she, how does she know all this about me, kind of thing? So it's, and then when I back up the bus on that, it's really listening to your audience. How do they say things when they talk about their issues? So you can really immerse yourself in that and bring that forward into your marketing copy. Another thing is, people use the use of Facebook ads, which, can for a lot of people be hit and miss. But also, if you have the right person helping you with that, and they not just throw stuff out there and waste your money, but actually do tests, and take an image and take verbiage and do tests, to see, which ones gets the most clicks and which one gets the most response and things like that. So there's so much more involved when it comes to, putting the word out there, that you have an event coming up. I don't know if that helps.
Oh, that absolutely helps. I realize that it takes more than just throwing the spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. It
Yeah.
really requires having a professional approach to creating your multi-day event, because when you have a multi-day event that is appropriately attended, then you can go on to having your your program being filled. That is what I think, that's the key to all of this. A lot of people might have been finding, though, that filling their events might be a little bit more difficult over the last few months, probably because we're in a pandemic, things are
Mhm.
different, probably because the online marketplace is a little bit more crowded. How has 2020 been for you and your business? How have you managed to be successful in spite of all the things that are going on around us?
Well, I'll start telling with a very honest story, and kind of opening up the curtain a little bit. When March hit, my company fell flat on its hiney because I was an in-person, live event with people in a room, in a ballroom somewhere, doing events. And when that happened, and when suddenly all those events disappeared, I was like, what's happening here? I honestly, I was stumped for a while, and I had a pity party, and I felt sorry for myself. And I was, like, I was frustrated and scared and going like, and there was a big moment, and that happened sometime in April, where I was on a Zoom call with one of my mentors and friends and coaches, and I was literally throwing a hissy fit, and I was ready to throw the towel in the ring. I was ready to give it all up. I was ready to just walk away from it all. And she let me rant. And actually, the more quieter she became, the more angrier I became. Because I was literally sitting there going, I was just one after another. And and then once I became quiet, she looked at me and she said, Yvonne, that's rather selfish. There are people out there that in these times need you even more than ever.
Hmm.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, hmm, you may have a point there. So yeah, so that was my, little moment there where I was ready to give it all up. And then I started, once I was able to change my own mindset around it and to kind of go like, yeah, she's right. There are people out there that really feel lost right now. I started to, change what I was thinking and really go out in the world and say, this is what I can help you with. There was a steep learning curve because I was doing Zoom before that. I was using it on a regular basis, but more for, just one-on-one meetings with people, maybe small team meetings, because I'm
Yep.
often part of somebody's team when I, leading up to their event. And that was it, and I never really had to know anything about breakout rooms or anything else that had to do with logistical pieces. And and then for me it was too, it was learning as I went. If I didn't know, if a client asked me something, I would just go and figure it out. And I say, I either say please hold, and I would look it up in the moment, or I would just look it up and go come back to them and say, okay, well, this is how we're going to do this. And so for me it was, even for me it was one of those things I had to learn, and sometimes by trial and error.
What's the biggest that's such a good story for you to share, and I think it's important for us to share these stories with each other, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of us are we're the word that I'm going to the phrase I'm going to use is functional depression, highly functional depression. We've been in this pandemic for, it's about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
We have been forced to change the way we're doing things. We've been forced to look at things a different way. Some of us are succeeding, some of us are struggling. It's really an unusual time for us.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in these moments we can feel alone. We can
Mm-hmm.
feel as though we're the only ones who are going through this, and feel that frustration that you felt, Yvonne. But knowing that you're not alone, and even the great Yvonne Basten went through this. I can tell you my own story, and I mean, it's going to be a little bit redundant for our audience members because they've heard this so many times before. But Ladies Power Lunch is an in person networking organization. And the day of the pandemic, the day we went into quarantine, was the day of our spring conference last year. It was
Mhm.
on that exact same day. And so our pivot had to be immediate. And it was a huge challenge. And I'm not going to say that I didn't have my own moments of, you know, concern, deep concern. But also, I agree with you, Yvonne, that these are the times when we are needed the most. And
Mhm.
so it's not that you don't have your pity party, you absolutely do, because you need to let that out. I'm sure Annette can tell us a whole lot more about that. But at the end of the day, we have to, put an end to that and move on and focus on helping the others. So, what has been the biggest thing that you've been able to help people with as far as getting their online events to be successful? What's been helpful for them the most during this pandemic time?
Um, I think well, so there's a whole bunch of things, and I can take this in all kinds of different directions. Um, One of the things I think a big realization that my clients have, because the funny thing is, a lot of the people that I work with are coaches who teach online. Like they meet via Zoom or
Hmm.
other mediums and teach their programs usually online. But their enrollment event, multiple day enrollment event where they, put new people into the fold, those were live.
Yes.
And so they have now come to realize that actually by taking that event online, they have such a much bigger reach,
Yes.
right? They never, if you so one of my clients I did an event for in December, and she she's in the Boston area. She normally would get maybe 20 people come to her live event, and she had over 60 people signed up for her online event. So, and same for a client that I did work with in February. She went from usually getting about 70 people in person. She had 172 people signed up online. So it makes so that was a huge eye opener for them to really, come to that realization of, this is a tool that I can use that is actually, really opening up. It's opening up borders.
Yes.
You can go from coast to coast, if you just want to stay national,
You
but
could
it
go
can,
international.
right, you can take it anywhere you want, right? So that was a big thing for them to really realize, and they had to actually experience it by seeing those registrations come in to go like, holy moly, why would I, and it's not that they, some might go back to doing some in-person events as well, but I don't think they'll ever give up the online piece,
So you
right?
think
And
when we go back, we'll be more of a hybrid, having some in person, some online?
yeah, so the opinions are a little bit diverse about that. I have listened. So for instance, Sage Events is a large company in the United States who does events for people like Tony Robbins and Sandra Yancey of eWomen Network.
Hmm.
And they do thousands of people at a time. And I was on a webinar of theirs not too long ago, and they were actually talking about what this world will look like into the future. And I tend to agree with them. So they say, like this year, a lot of people will try the hybrid format where you have one event with, some people online and some people in a live audience,
Hmm.
which in my books can work if you have a still relatively small event. But once your numbers increase, I think what will happen, and that's exactly what Sage ended up saying, is that in 2022 on, people will do two events. They
Two
will do
events.
one online event and they'll do the same event in person, and potentially make that in-person event a little bit more exclusive, or whatever way they want to
Yep.
look at that and whatever they want to create with that. But I think that's personally, I can see that go into the future that way as well, because like I said, just now as well, is that I don't think anybody will let go of the online events because of its potential.
Yes, yes.
Right.
I have to agree, being
Mm-hmm.
online has been really it's been a very good opportunity for us to break down borders and open up. Our organization has always been in person, and so for our you would have people who would only show up for very special events, like they'd come to our retreats or they'd come to our annual conference. But our usual monthly meetings, our members in California, they're not going to make that. But
No.
now our members in the UK, our members in Switzerland, our members in the Caribbean, our members in Canada, they're showing up for our monthly events. So it really, really makes a difference. And it's really good to be able to be online and to have had this time to practice the online format. Because,
Mhm.
like you said, we've been using Zoom for lots of things, but not for this.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, it's just, and I've seen that as well myself with eWomen Network that I'm a part of as well as a member. I used to be one of their managing directors, but they're all online, and I've been hopping around, bobbing around to different chapters all over North America. It's been awesome. So I can, it's just a really great way to reach a wider audience. Yeah, for sure.
It is. What words of wisdom do you have for us when it comes to not only creating our online events, but also navigating this tough time that we're going through?
Well, for creating an online event, so I'm actually, and I'll touch on that a little bit more later on before we close today about my masterclass that's coming up.
Hmm.
But during that time, I will be teaching, like the importance of building a relationship with your audience before you go into your event,
Hmm.
maintaining a really strong relationship with them, and a high level of engagement during the event, and then making sure that you're that you're selling, because that's why you're putting on the event in the first place. And
Hmm.
I'll drill deeper into that when I do my masterclass. um, Now, having said all that, there's, yes, these are not easy times, and there's still a lot of money going around,
Hmm.
which, so oftentimes when we think of, scarcity, people will never pay this, people will never do this. That is not true. I've seen it over and over again with the different people that I've done events for. They offer programs that are, at the low end was like $7,000. But the one of the other ones was like $10,000, $15,000, and people paid. And that particular client actually had her best event ever. So, it's the money is there, and that's, I think, why it's key to charge for the event. So yes, give freely during your multiple day event, and so you can make your offer, but don't let people show up for free, because it automatically, it kind of qualifies, right, who's showing up.
Yes.
That the people that are willing to pay for your event are potentially also people that are willing to invest in themselves.
Yes, yes, yes. And I've seen
Yeah.
different models of doing this. I've seen where people have, because like I said, a lot of the members of our community, they're coaches,
Mhm.
they're teachers, they lead their communities. I've seen models where people will give like a discount on the program to people who pay to attend their
Mhm.
event and that sort of thing. So there are definitely wonderful ways to be able to
Mhm.
do your online event, charge for it, and
Yes.
still also get good enrollment in your programs. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Like my last big event, the one that I did in February, that client um, earned $10,000 before going into the event,
Hmm.
just because of, people paid to
Yes.
attend, pay to play. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
So.
I think that we all need to be very confident in our product. And
Mhm.
maybe there is an opportunity for us to have another conversation at some time about being comfortable with our pricing, and being comfortable with asking for money for our events.
Yeah, that's a great topic, because one thing that I do know is that women are exceedingly good in undervaluing themselves and undercharging for their services.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wonder if you even look at the corporate landscape, women
Hmm.
get paid less. You know,
Hmm.
it's just a
Yeah.
thing that is a pervasive and destructive part
Hmm.
of our society. And if we're able to tackle that head on, that can be something that we can definitely talk about as we go forward. I'd love to have you back on the show. Do you have any upcoming events, programs, products? Can you share your website? People are going to want to know how to connect with you.
For sure. So, like I said earlier, I'm going to teach a masterclass on April 13th. It's at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which is noon Eastern. And we're actually in the middle of creating the landing page for that for people to register. But if you're listening to this recording, or if you're here live and you're interested in joining me there, you can send an email to Yvonne at eventmanagement.guru, and put in the subject line masterclass, and I'll be happy to send you the registration once we're ready with that. It's probably another week out before I have that link going. Then I'm on all social media channels. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So if you weren't able to write down the email address, then feel free to find me there. I've got pages and my personal page as well. Messenger, Facebook Messenger is always a great way to get a hold of me as well. And yeah, so my masterclass is all around, some of the things that I talked about here as well is, how to get them to your event, building up that relationship prior to the event, creating engagement during the event, and getting sales, because that's why we're in business, to create sales for ourselves.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So, do you have a free gift that you would like to offer our attendees today?
Yeah, I've got a beautiful freebie on my website. So if they go to eventmanagement.guru, Guru, which is the ending, so it's not a .com or a .ca. So it's eventmanagement.guru, Guru. And there's a freebie on there that will help them with the online events as well.
Awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. And I invite everybody who is watching us here on our Facebook group, everybody who's watching us on YouTube, and everybody who's listening in on our podcast to go ahead and check out Yvonne's free gift. This is a wonderful, wonderful gift to you to help you to have outstanding events that can actually support you, that can actually provide you with cash flow. Yvonne, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you, everybody who joined us here, and thanks to everybody over on Facebook for joining. And I invite you all to tune in to watch with us again on the next show. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.